Hello everyone, this is RadTechShoe, and let me welcome you to my very first Battleborn character review episode. I'm going to be going over each and every character in Battleborn, doing an in-depth review on each of them, their lore, their backstory, and how I have found to best play them effectively. And today's very first episode will be on Rath, the Generate Swordsman. Rath is definitely one of the most iconic characters in Battleborn, and deservedly so. He's actually pretty good. He's a great beginner character. I can't wait to get into this with you. So let's get right into it with his backstory. So the first thing you need to know about Rath is that he is what is known as a Generate Sustained. A Sustained is some type of rite of passage. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's pretty much being given a status and given abilities. One ability is that as a Sustained, you don't age naturally. Rath is over 1,400 years old, and that is how long he has been serving the Empress, the Generate Empress. And some keepers are recorded to be over 18,000 years old. You know, some of the Keepers of the Blade, which is what Rath is. There are several Keepers of the Blade. There's at least 20, and some of them can reach tens of thousands of years of age. So being a Generate Sustained has its advantages, not only in terms of living longer, but they're also very good at healing. Rath is very good at healing. He's able to actually draw life energy from other biological beings, specifically the ones he is fighting. So in combat, he actually has the capability of sapping his opponent's health and using it to restore his. He's exceptionally hard to kill as well. He's apparently immune to toxins, poisons, he's incombustible, he can't even suffer from asphyxiation. So Rath is, quite frankly, he kind of reminds me of Wolverine. For those of you who don't know Wolverine from the X-Men series, he's kind of indestructible, capable of self-healing, and it's really one, trying to figure out, like, geez, what can kill him? But for the most part, that's what it means for Rath to be a Generate Sustained. Sustains are very capable fighters, and Keepers of the Blade, Sustained, which is what Rath is, are no slouch when it comes to combat. Now, being a Keeper of the Blade, Rath formed all three of the swords that you see him wield. He created all of them on his own. He is a master craftsman of weapons, and believe it or not, not only did he craft the three that he wields, he even made the blade that Caldarius uses. After following Caldarius' escape from Tempest, Rath built Caldarius a phasic blade to use in Caldarius' shock armor, and Caldarius even sent him a little thank you message saying, this is sufficient. The blade you made is, it works. So Rath is a very skilled craftsman when it comes to blades. Now, I mentioned earlier that he was the personal bodyguard for the Empress, for the Generate Empress, for over 1,400 years. However, he wasn't always her bodyguard. Eventually, when Rendain betrayed the Empire, the Generate Empire, and Rendain created, what's known as the Imperium, Rendain actually recruited Rath. He deceived Rath, and for 3 years, Rath was loyal to Rendain. However, Diande confronted Rath and set him straight, and Rath and Diande seem to be on a very good level with one another. They're very trusting of one another, and Diande just told him straight up, look, Rath, you're being used. Rendain is lying to you. And when Rath confronted Rendain about this, Rendain had nothing to say. He's like, he did not give a shit, and that just infuriated Rath. And not only did Rath attempted to kill Rendain right then and there. He grabbed Rendain's personal dagger and stabbed Rendain in the gut with it. However, Rendain, being sustained like Rath, does not die easily. So Rath then retreated, ran away, and since then, Rath has been on pretty much this personal quest for revenge against Rendain. But not only against Rendain, he also took it upon himself to hunt down other Keepers of the Blade, like himself, that were still loyal to Rendain. There were apparently at least 20 other Keepers of the Blade that Rath had taken it upon himself to hunt down and to eliminate for following and remaining loyal to Rendain and betraying the Empire. And that's going to do it for Rath's backstory. We're all done with his lore pretty much. And now we're going to get into how I feel like he should be used in the story missions and in versus mode. So first off is the story missions. Rath is pretty straightforward. He just charges the enemy front lines. He is going to be one of the people leading the charge. He's going to be wiping out wave after wave of adds. He is the one that is pretty much welcoming all challengers. He's at the head of the pack with a bunch of other melee fighters, and Rath is actually fairly good with all of his attacks swinging from left to right, horizontally side to side. He's able to hit multiple enemies in front of him, not just the ones directly in front of him at 12 o'clock, but also at 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. Rath is a very forgiving character in that respect. You don't have to worry about being too accurate or facing your opponent dead on. You can just point him in the general direction of enemies, and as long as you're close enough, Rath's spinning attacks will always connect. Speaking of attacks, let's go over his abilities, shall we? So his basic melee is R2. You just hold it down and Rath will swing his swords in a bunch of horizontal slashes, and you can hold it down and he'll just keep swinging infinitely. L2 is a slightly ranged attack that kind of deals damage in an area around him. It's not all that great, it sweeps, it does affect damage. I hardly ever use it. I forget that Rath has it because Rath's R2 attacks are so much more effective at dealing a lot of damage in a short amount of time. Now for his abilities, his first skill is Crossblade. L1, he'll attack and launch two energy beams forward right there, and they'll do roughly 200 damage. Fairly useful, but however, it actually is very easy to miss if you're not careful. It's very easy to accidentally shoot to the left or the right of enemies, so make sure you line those up. His other skill for R1 is Catalytic Smash. This is actually a very good ability because it launches enemies high into the air and it makes them sitting ducks and allows you to just gang up on them and just get in their face and make it so that there's no escape. So R1 Catalytic Smash, very useful at creating space and launching a bunch of enemies up in the air and just really, really doing a lot of damage. And it's also a great setup for his ultimate, Dreadwind. When you press triangle, Rath spins around and just unleashes a torrent of slashes that he lasts for 4 seconds, spinning at a very high speed, and every attack does 83 damage. So he's capable of wiping out an insane number of enemies with the Dreadwind. Now, one thing that I need to know, his inherent ability is called Genetic Siphon. When Rath deals damages to enemies, he steals their health. Remember that as part of his lore, he's able to drain the life force of other biological life forms. Well, that actually plays into his gameplay. He is actually able to steal 8% of the damage from melee attacks and 10% of the damage from skill abilities, and that goes back into healing Rath and keeping him alive, allowing him to keep fighting longer and longer, which makes sense because he is a generous sustain. And now I'm going to cut from the gameplay and we're going to go into Rath's character loadout, and I'm going to show you Rath's helix and some of the options that I use when I do story mode missions with Rath. Okay, so here we are looking at Rath's helix. As you can see in the bottom left corner, I have unlocked all of his mutations. I've gotten Rath up to level 12, which is the bare minimum I will allow to do these reviews. I will not do a review on any character until I get them to level 12 so I can unlock all their mutations within their helix. So let's go ahead and I'm going to give you the basic loadout I suggest first for PvE, for story mode missions. So right off the bat, you still really have, I would recommend you use Slowing Stride. The crossblade slowing enemies down for 3 seconds is pretty good, and it can hit multiple enemies. It's fairly useful, especially when you combo it with Anger's Echo on the right on level 2, which allows you to hit enemies, and then after it like hits a wall or something, after it would technically dissipate or be destroyed, it'll actually send another shockwave back towards Rath. So it gives you the opportunity to hit enemies twice and inflict slow status on them as well. So that's a nice combo. If you combo Anger's Echo with the Slowing Strike, it's fairly useful right there. Eviscerating Blade, not really all that useful in PvE, and as Shield Siphon, once again, it's okay, but I would strongly prefer Anger's Echo over anything else for level 2 in PvE. For level 3, double jumping has not been all that useful for me. Rath, it's not like it enables Rath to get to places that no one can get to before. So I choose Spin to Win on level 3. For level 4, I tried Crimson Fastness. It wasn't as useful as I thought it would be, so I just went for Catalytic Flash. Silencing opponents, stopping them from doing powerful stuff is fairly useful. Now for level 5, this one is actually this one is up in the air for it's however you want to use it. Skillful Siphoning or Not a Vampire, either one is perfectly fine. Swordsman Salve is pretty good as well. Like I said, it depends on what you prefer. I prefer Swordsman Salve or Not a Vampire, since Rath does melees more than anything else. So that's what I prefer in PvE for level 5. Now level 6, I have to go with Catastrophic Smash. Doubling the shockwave length of Catalytic Smash just means I launch more enemies into the air and more people get hit. For Brutal Blade, a 15% increase is not enough to warrant giving up the double the distance for Catalytic Smash. So 15% versus twice as many people or enemies being knocked in the air, that was an obvious no-brainer for me. Now this one was actually, I thought this would be tough, but you know what? I have to go with to the point, increased melee damage, because you know what? Rath is a melee fighter. He's going to be dealing the most amount of damage with his melees. So Spin to Slow wasn't as useful as I thought it would be, but you know what? It's not too bad. It's just not all that great in PvE. So level 8 right here, you can do Energetic Projection or Quick Cross. I choose Quick Cross because it allows me to use Crossblade more often, which means more damage, which means more enemies die, and so on and so forth. You can understand that. Level 9 is, I choose Zealous Smash. Catalytic Smash, reducing Dreadwind cooldown, 3 seconds per kill, and since we've doubled the distance on it, it's going to hit more enemies thanks to Catastrophic Smash. So by killing enemies with Catalytic Smash, it reduces the Dreadwind's cooldown, 3 seconds per enemy that dies. So if you just line up a bunch of tiny little enemies that you've already done a few melee strikes to, and you hit them with Zealous Smash, you're just going to see a good chunk of the Dreadwind's cooldown disappear. And right here we got the final one for level 10. This one was also very up in the air, and it's dependent upon your play style. If you feel like you need Dreadheart, you want to move through enemies faster on PvE, that's all very good. Unstoppable Assault, I really didn't find all that useful in PvE. Desperate Assault, I definitely did find useful. So Dreadheart or Desperate Assault in PvE is very useful. I would lean more towards Desperate Assault myself in PvE, just because Rath's shield, his overshield is pretty, it's not much. So, and since you're constantly fighting with Rath and up close in someone's face, odds are you've already lost your overshield anyway, or you're gonna lose it very quickly because Rath is constantly dealing damage and taking damage. Now in versus mode, Rath is a little different. Rath, I have found that I need to play a little more cautiously, and flanking leads to very effective results, as with any player really. When you flank and come up from behind, like right there on your opponents, odds are you can definitely do a lot of damage. But Rath is very effective at ambush kills, because not only does he have the ability to deal a significant amount of damage and restore his own health while dealing melee damage, he can also disable his opponents very effectively and just finish them off extremely quickly, giving them very little time to respond. He's very, very effective at putting away enemies quickly. If you want a beginner character in versus mode, especially I think he is the best melee character for starters. If you want to learn what it's like to be a melee character in Battleborn, Rath is probably the best option for you. And now we're going to go into the loadout that I have chosen in the Helix menu for how I feel like Rath should be played in versus game modes. Okay, now we're going to go over my versus mode, my PvP Helix loadout, because this actually changes a few things. And right off the bat, level 1, I actually prefer Concussive Smash. Anytime that you can actually, stun an opponent and make it so that they can't fight back at all, that is extremely useful. It pretty much makes them a sitting duck. It makes them easier to kill. And here's the thing, even if you don't kill them, even if you can't kill them before they recover, you can position Rath so that he's in the way of their escape route. So you can, in a sense, kind of like flank them right as you stun them, so that if they're trying to run away, they have to literally run around you, and that just enables you to keep hitting them and follow them and try and cut them off and try and finish them off before they can escape. So stunning them is very useful. It enables you to deal a massive amount of damage. If you want to use waveform smash instead, that is perfectly good. Or if you want to use slowing strike, that is also still good. But I prefer concussive smash. But if you don't want concussive smash, just be warned though. Because if you use concussive smash, you'll no longer be launching enemies into the air at all. Like, it won't do it at all. Even if you have not hit the enemies with the cross strike yet, with the crossblade, if you haven't hit them with that and you just do it on a catalytic smash on its own, it will not launch anyone or anything into the air. So be wary of that. However, if you want to, you can, like I said, you can combo it. You can combo concussive smash with Anger's Echo. Enabling you to hit multiple enemies, hit multiple adds, or even if you missed, an enemy on the first time, it goes by and it just misses them to the left or the right, and they're zigzagging, they're dancing back and forth to try and make it so that it's harder for you to hit them. When Anger's Echo sends that second one right back at Rath, it actually has an increased chance of hitting them. So Anger's Echo is not too bad if you want to combo it with concussive smash. Once again, right here, I go with spin to win. I don't prefer terror from above. Double jumping gives Rath hardly anything. It just means that he can get onto certain ledges, but I've never really had an absolute necessity for Rath to ever double jump. Catalytic flash, I stay with this once again, because not only am I stunning them when I use concussive smash, but I also silence them, so right when they regain consciousness and they're able to fight, they still have 2 seconds of silence to go through, which means they can't use their abilities for 2 more seconds, which enables me to stay on the offensive and put them in, pretty much in defense mode. Now, right here, I prefer Swordsman Salve just because, like I said, Rath will use his abilities every chance he gets, but a majority of damage is going to be with the melees. And since I'm up in everyone's face, I'm in everyone's face, and I'm constantly dealing damage, I'm going to be taking damage. I'm going to be taking the full force of their melees or their abilities. Rath is... So I want to heal as much as possible, and since I'm dealing the most amount of damage with Rath with his melees, I prefer Swordsman Salve over Not a Vampire or Skillful Siphoning when I'm in Versus mode. Once again, right here, I still go with Catastrophic Smash because, once again, double the distance on Catalytic Smash. You can't beat it. If Crossblade, was increased by like 30% or 40%, I would definitely consider Brutal Blade. But because it's only 15%, it's just a waste of a Helix slot, in my opinion. Spin to slow and to the point are my choices right here. Either one is up to you. I prefer to the point because, like I said, Rath is doing as much damage as possible. All the damage he does, a majority of it is done with melees, and to the point just amplifies it, and it just allows Rath to kill his enemies quicker. Once again, quick cross, that way I can keep using the crossblade as much as possible. Doubling the effective range really isn't that important, considering how you're not going to be at extreme ranges when you want to use it, because it's very unreliable and inaccurate at long ranges. So there's no reason to try and snipe with the crossblade. You're better off just getting in close and just trying to use crossblade as often as you can, especially if you combo it with concussive smash. Once again, I choose Zealous Smash just because even in even in a versus mode, if you're playing, if you're playing any of the game modes that have little bots, little enemy AI bots, you can you can wipe out a shit ton of adds with them, with the Zealous Smash, and just reduce the Dreadwind cooldown. That way, that enables you to use it sooner and just lay waste to your enemies. Desperate Assault, I choose that for level 10 just because Rath is gonna he's always gonna be low on health or his shield. He's gonna always be taking damage. So his shield is gonna be drained or weakened almost all the time because that's just how Rath is. He's always going to be in someone's face. He's always going to be taking damage and dishing it out. So Desperate Assault is great, and it's also a good way to come back. I actually had Desperate Assault equipped, and I was fighting an enemy Wrath. He went in to his Dreadwind first, but because I had Desperate Assault, when I activated mine, my bonus 45% damage caught up to him, and I actually killed him first, even though he started his Dreadwind before I did. So Desperate Assault is very useful. And that's my loadout for Wrath when it comes to versus game modes. It's a fairly solid lineup. I've had a lot of success with it. Wrath has been very good to me. He's a very forgiving character, and I hope you all that use this loadout, I hope you all have as much success or even more success than I did. So the last thing I'd like to say about Wrath, in terms of play style and really to use him, like I said, you can flank with him. However, one of the biggest drawbacks I've noticed about Wrath is he starts off with what seems to be, in my opinion, kind of lowish health. He only starts off at 983 health at level 1, and every time he levels up, he gains a little bit more health. And at level 10, he will have 1,568. Now that's, like I said, I've noticed that other melee characters, like Phoebe for instance, she has several hundred more health starting off at level 1. So Wrath is actually not the greatest in terms of health. He's not a meat shield. He's not the best at soaking up an insane amount of damage. It's very important that you pick your spots with Wrath. Don't hesitate to charge. If you have a healer, like a dedicated healer like Miko or even Umbra with you, that is great. Try and stick close to them, and as long as they know what to do, you should be good there. But his low health starting out can actually be problematic for you because it means that it's a little difficult to kill other players in versus mode right off the bat, right at level 1. You want to level up Concussive Smash and you want to level up Catalytic Smash. You want to get more abilities unlocked and unlock more of your Helix tree, and then he becomes extremely effective. Pretty much by level 5, once you unlock Dreadwind, that's when he becomes extremely efficient at what he does. And as you can see right here, some enemies just don't stand a chance. Right, as long as you're a little patient and you line up your shots correctly, you can deal a shit ton of damage and you can put people away before they even have a chance to react to you. So Wrath is very good at leading the charge, but be smart. Don't just expect to never die. Wrath's healing ability only does 8% for melees and 10% for skills, that restores health. So I would, you need to be smart. I would strongly recommend that you be a little patient with him. He's great for beginner characters, and he's not that difficult to really pick up on and get a firm grasp of. And he is a lot of fun, especially since he's voiced by Chris Sabat. For those of you who don't know who Chris Sabat is, he is the voice of Vegeta in the English dub for Dragon Ball Z. So, and he literally sounds just like him. If you've ever watched Dragon Ball Z and then you hear Wrath talking and screaming and shouting, you're like, holy shit, that is Vegeta. He literally does Wrath. Wrath is Vegeta's voice, essentially. So it's very fun to listen to Wrath scream. And, my favorite Wrath quote is, the following murder spree is a revenge murder spree. It just cracks me up, because it literally sounds exactly like something Vegeta would say. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video and my review of Wrath. I hope you guys enjoyed this gameplay. If you did, please don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe. Comment down below if you think I missed anything about Wrath, or something that I should do for my future review videos, or any character you're looking forward to. Let me know in the comments section below. I look forward to getting feedback from you guys, and please, like I said, don't hesitate to make suggestions on what you think I should improve upon. I'm very open to any type of criticism you guys have for me. I thank you once again very much for watching this video. It means a lot to me. I look forward to bringing you more Battleborn content in the future. And that's going to do it for this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video once more. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you guys all later in my next video. This is RadTechShoe signing off.